All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. So we have some Detroit Lions news. We got some stuff to talk over, right? Cam Sutton got released about a week ago. Now, they did pick up Carlton Davis via trade, and they did sign Amik Robertson in free agency. You also had newcomer in the nickel in Brian Branch really ascend into what looks like is going to be a future star very soon. I was going to say in the future, but looks like that could be starting as soon as next season. He had a pick six in his rookie debut in the National Football League against the Kansas City Chiefs. But you lost Cam Sutton, right? It was unfortunate. Thank goodness they traded for Carlton Davis. But we're many weeks into free agency now, and the draft is less than a month away. So outside of maybe another cornerback, you also have some safety concerns with Melifonwu and Joseph. It's Melifonwu's last season on his rookie deal, and it just in general is a younger group of kids. You could also use another wide receiver because we heard a couple of days ago that Josh Reynolds was going to be picked up by the Denver Broncos. Now, all of this should be taken with a grain of salt, right? Because Detroit still went 12-5. They still won a couple of playoff games, and they were so close to making the goddamn Super Bowl. Like even with the wide receiver room, Josh Reynolds was their third leading receiver last season, right behind Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta. But you also have to keep in mind, Jameson Williams is kind of being set up for a great year 3. So we're going to talk about a couple of different things in today's video. But before we do, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Lions fans, love you guys as always. I do want to say happy Easter to everybody. It is late here, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. But happy Easter to everybody. Thank you guys for all the support. Let's try and get this video to 250 likes, and let's just get into it. So, it is Easter Sunday, and we're keeping it kind of chill. It's the last day of the month. So I was reading an article from Alex Ballantyne, and he was just kind of, it was Bleacher Report. He was just kind of putting up some players, some like aging veteran players that could work on, whatever teams. And once again, we've been talking about it all week. Cam Sutton got released by the Detroit Lions, and there are plenty. There's a multitude of veteran cornerbacks out there that I think could really help Detroit. Now, there's a couple of things we need to keep in mind, right? You're probably going to extend guys, right? We got guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aiden Hutchinson, Jared Goff. So you have cap space, you have money to spend, but at the same time, you also in the short or near future, you're going to be giving a lot of these guys contract extensions. So you do have money technically on the books, but you want to keep it pretty flexible for these incoming extensions, right? Now, with that being said, the departure of Cam Sutton does leave a hole in the defensive back room for Detroit. That was kind of the thorn in their side all last season. It was the thorn in the side in the playoffs. It is what it is. At the end of the day, it's a really young group. So we're just talking about Melifonwu, and we're just talking about Kirby Joseph. You do have Carlton Davis coming in over now as solidified cornerback 1. Once again, Brian Branch had a phenomenal rookie season in the nickel. So it's kind of like the wide receiver room. Even though you lost Cam Sutton and even though you lost Josh Reynolds, they're not, every team always has holes to fill, right? Every single team. But Detroit's still in a really good spot. So one interesting cornerback veteran I was looking into was Stefan Gilmore. Last year he got a 1-year deal, $10 million, a little under $10 million with the Dallas Cowboys. That's pretty much similar what you would pay him this upcoming season. He's going to turn 34 in September, but he hasn't fallen off a cliff as far as performance goes. Last season in Dallas, he started all 17 games, picking off 2 passes and defending 13. He gave up a pass rating of just 82.7, which is strong even if it was his worst his worst stat in that category in the last 6 seasons. Now, what I was getting at real quick is Detroit's got a late first-round pick. What I think they're going to do is probably the cornerback position or an interior offensive lineman. Another need, like we're talking about, is the wide receiver room, but I do think that it just appears like it's this crazy deep wide receiver draft class that it's not this crazy urgent pressing matter for Detroit. You could still go out there and bring back a guy like DJ Chark Jr. and draft a guy. But the reason I'm talking about the cornerback spot is because Kool-Aid McKinstry on Detroit in the late first round makes a lot of sense. My only contingency is, will he be available at that point? You draft Kool-Aid from Alabama, he's going to be a day one starter. Obviously, he's going to have his struggles, but I think he'd have a very similar rookie season to Brian Branch. What I want in these next three players, or the next two players, Stefan Gilmore included, is to just forget even about their pick in the late first round, because it kind of reminds me almost of what Pittsburgh did last season with Joey Porter Jr., and then they picked up Patrick Peterson. You do have to keep in mind, Carlton Davis is technically on an expiring contract. This will be the last year under contract, but it is likely that Detroit kind of, comes to an agreement for an extension. All right. So that's Stefan Gilmore. Now, Xavier Howard is a guy we talked about in our last Detroit Lions video. People think he got cut from Miami because Miami Dolphin fans thinks he's trash, just like most teams who failed miserably. No disrespect. I live in Florida. Like, Miami failed in the first round immediately, like they have done a lot of times. And I think that just causes frustration. So if you ask a Dolphins fan their thoughts on Xavier Howard, they're like, oh, he's trash. That's why we cut him. More realistically is because it saved them $18.5 million against the salary cap. All right. He's 30 years old. He is a really good cornerback. He started 13 games. He allowed just one touchdown last season and an opponent passer rating of 81.3. He had 10 interceptions and 20 passes defended in 2020. So he's not, that same lockdown all-pro type of cornerback, but he did mention he doesn't need a big contract. He could be down to head to a contending team. He said this quote, "Some people get paid and some people win a Super Bowl. Some people do both. You do both. You're different. I want to be different. I want to win a Super Bowl now. I already got paid. So now a Super Bowl is what I'm looking forward to." Xavier Howard to the Detroit Lions, in my opinion, just makes a whole bunch of sense, especially if he's willing to take a pay cut. Now, finally, I want to talk about Patrick Peterson because, as we were alluding to a second ago, Pittsburgh picked up Joey Porter Jr. I think it was the first pick in the second round. It was very early in the second round, so kind of like a late first. And then they went out and picked up Patrick Peterson, three-time All-Pro, right? More of a money saver move. Last season, played in all 17 games, started in 16 of them. He gave up just 7.7 yards per target. And like we mentioned, a big need, or not like a huge need, because Kirby Joseph and Melifanu are very good football players. You just maybe want a little bit more depth, ideally more of a veteran depth piece in the safety room. Patrick Peterson can play safety. He said this, "I don't want to start at safety because that's a different animal back there, a different view. If that is the case, I would need to be warned going into the season to get my body, to get my mind prepared, because it's different being at safety from a cornerback position, having those open field tackles, and you're the last line of defense." So let me know your thoughts on Kool-Aid and or Stefan Gilmore, Xavier Howard, or Patrick Peterson coming on over to the Detroit Lions. Thank you guys for watching. Happy Easter, and we will see you soon.